Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're carrying on playing some new cards. This time we're playing them in Infect. So I think there's actually two ways you can go with Infect really, for including the new cards. You can go heavily into the Rot Priest that gives your opponent a poison counter whenever one of your creatures gets targeted. So you play loads and loads more like targeting effects. So you'd have things like mutagenic growth and all sorts of bits and pieces like that, and try and get your opponent without even having to use a combat step sometimes. Or you can go more like a traditional route like we've gone here, where we've got our Glistener Elves, our Blighted Agents, our selection of pump spells that give us large creatures, and then counter magic suite of Dazes and Force of Wills with our usual Ponder Brainstorms to find things, and Noble Hierarch to pump our creatures up. So pretty straightforward, this. Now the new card we're including in this, we are splashing white pretty much just for SKRELV in the main deck. So what SKRELV does is, it's a 1 mana 1/1, it has Toxic 1 itself. You can give a creature hexproof and unblockability from a certain colour, and they also get Toxic. So with this, you can make your Glistener Elf unblockable. Now last time I played Infect, I got in some real trouble because there was loads of decks putting creatures into play, so I couldn't really attack with my guys. SKRELV gives us that unblockability, so we can attack through like a Seasoned Dungeoneer or a White Plume Adventurer without having to worry. And the Toxic stacks with the Infect as well. So if we attack with a Glistener Elf, we give it the SKRELV ability, so it will deal 1 damage on its own, and then it will deal a trigger for Toxic and give them 1 Toxic counter as well. So it will do 2 poison counters per turn cycle that way. Now if we start throwing in some Invigorates or whatever, we can stack it up quite quickly. So I'm quite interested to see how this SKRELV plays. I think it's going to be a really useful tool for this style of deck. Now, I'm not sure this is the best way to take Infect. Maybe you should be going heavily into the Rot Priest and things, because that way, whenever any of your creatures get removed, you also get to poison your opponent. So there is that option. But this is what we've gone for today. Other than that, it's pretty much straightforward Infect. In our sideboard, we've got a few nice little tools here. So, SKRELV's Hive. This is like Bitter Blossom kind of thing, except it just makes little toxic mites. Now, they can get lifelink later on, which might be relevant. You just need to give your opponent 3 poison counters. So, this seems like quite a good tool for games that are going to go long, but because of the way the meta is right now, I don't think you want this main deck. An important thing about this as well is that it dodges Pyroblast. So, in a long sort of grindy blue control matchup, you can board in your SKRELV's Hive and this Ajani. So this means when I played Ajani before, I found it to be very poor as a general rule. I boarded it out almost every game, but we didn't really play against any slow control decks. Now there's been a slight uptick in those control decks, so I think it's going to be a bit better now. And this combined with SKRELV's Hive is actually quite powerful, because this is always going to give you guys to stick your counters on if you want them. So that's quite an important way we could do that. Unfortunately, revealing a top card of our library to find a creature isn't something that we get to do that often, because we're quite light on creatures. So I'm not really 100% convinced by the Ajani, but we're going to keep giving it a go, because I know some people who are better with Infect quite like it. Other than that, everything else is pretty self-explanatory. We've got a set of swords to Plowshares when we need to kill some creatures. We've got this Seeds of Innocence to get rid of some artifacts. This is kind of like one of your big hammers for blowing up the artifacty style decks, and with the mono blue painter on the rise, this seems like a good option to have. And we've got a couple of Surge of Extractions to mess with the graveyard, a couple of Uros. Again, if we've got one of those sort of longer grindier games, we could just use an Uro engine to grind ourselves up in the game. And then we have Flusterstorm against heavy removal decks when we need to prevent them killing our guys when we've played a load of pump spells, but also this can interact with Storm decks. I'm not 100% on this build. I'm not an Infect player, so this is kind of my best attempt at doing something that doesn't depart too much from the old Infect decks, but kind of has some new stuff going on. I got rid of the like Vines of Vastwood, which was something I never really enjoyed having in this deck the few times I have played it. But maybe that's a mistake. But SKRELV kind of does a very similar thing, so it seems like a good fit, as well as also giving you far more ability to punch through. So this is what we're going with. I hope you find this build relatively interesting and showcasing some new stuff. Alright, just before we jump into a league, it's plug time. So likes, comments, subscribes. You can do these things for free and it really helps me out. So why not do them? All right, let's jump into a Legacy League with SKRELV Bant Infect. Okay, we are into the first round now. This is our opening hand. It's a bit of a clunker in a lot of ways. We can SKRELV our opponent a little bit and get in with the Inkmoth Nexus. We have a Daze, Force of Will to protect ourselves. We don't have any green mana yet, and we don't have any cantrips. So this hand is definitely requiring something a bit more, but it doesn't take too much with Inkmoth Nexus and Berserk, so like an Invigorate can pretty much just win us the game. So we need to draw 2 specific cards for that. We do have a lot of cantrips. If we get wastelanded off of our Tundra, we're in real trouble. I think this is the low end of a keep. I think we can keep this on. We have the evasive threats in the Inkmoth Nexus as well. And we can drop the turn 1 SKRELV whilst holding up permission. And more importantly, we get to test a new card, right? So, a Mox Diamond from our opponent. Okay. This looks like the initiative deck. We cannot allow a White Plume Adventurer to come into play on turn 1. Our hand cannot beat that. A nice green card that we can't cast. We can play out the SKRELV this turn. Next turn we can play out the Inkmoth Nexus. So once we get the Inkmoth Nexus in play, we can steal the initiative off our opponent relatively easily and then fix our mana to get our green. We do need something like a scale up. Be helpful. Invigorate plus Berserk is lethal with an Inkmoth mode. Not a million miles away. Cavern of Souls is probably going to name human, and they're going to drop a Seasoned Dungeoneer would be my guess. Oh no, they're on the red-white build. Fable Mirror Breaker. This is fine for us. They're not introducing the initiative into the game. Okay, so we've got this other card that we can't do an awful lot with. So we can hold up what looks like permission when we don't really have anything. And then next turn we can animate our Inkmoth Nexus, and we can swing for 2 if we want to by using the SKRELV. And then we're just looking for some Invigorate action really, or forest and something to go with it, like a... Okay, so here comes the Seasoned Engineer. We can't counter this, not that we have a blue card for our Force of Will. This goblin is a shaman, so it can't get the pump from the Seasoned Engineer this turn. They have introduced this, so we're going to be able to get our forest on the next turn, unless our opponent wants to Solitude our Inkmoth Nexus, which is something they can do, but that doesn't feel great with a SKRELV in play. But if we use a SKRELV just to get the additional poison, that's less good. But we might not need to do that depending on how our draw pans out. Now they could attack with this, get a treasure, and then use that to plow as well. So we probably have to hold back the SKRELV as protection. Yep, so there's the planes. This guy's going to attack. Didn't attack. Very weird. Okay, so now we have a Daze. That's the unique control one. That's the non-unique control one. Should be the right one I've clicked on here. So this can go and get us the initiative. Oh wait, we don't actually have a forest in this deck. That's a bit of an error from me there, isn't it? But I suppose we're trying to include an additional colour there. Yeah, that's a little bit awkward, isn't it? Lesson learned, I suppose. We're not going to tap the SKRELV there. We're going to keep the SKRELV back because they had open mana and I didn't really want to... Alright, so we have a Force of Will. This Reflection of Kikiji is going to start copying their Seasoned Dungeoneer very soon, and we're just going to lose to that in pretty short order. We literally can't block these. We can forge onto our Inkmoth Nexus though, and we steal it next time. Or we can Lost Well. Okay, so this is 8 next turn, plus another 3. Potentially 2 more from pumps. So we're dead next turn. We probably have to counterspell whatever comes up here if we can, but it looks like we're not going to be able to because it's human creature spells. It's another Seasoned Engineer, or is it the... Yeah, it's just another Seasoned Engineer. Weird that you cast that second main phase and you can get the trigger off of it. Oh, I suppose they couldn't get the trigger because it gives you protection from creatures, so they need 2 creatures that can actually get the trigger. And once this has got the trigger once, it will counter the second trigger. So we take 5. So we are dead on our next turn. So we need to draw something very good here. Nope, that's not it. Sure. Our hand really didn't pan out there, and we were put under quite immense pressure, so we didn't really have the time for it. But yeah, fair enough. I don't think that was a good keep, and that's very much what we got told. So we need these plows, that's for sure. We need SKRELVs to punch through our opponent and what they're doing. I don't think this is an Euro match. Like, they have lots of white removal, so it doesn't feel very good there. SKRELV's Hive is an option here, potentially, but depends how much removal we expect our opponents to be bringing in. Like, all our counter spells are pretty good still. I think it probably is just the plows we want to keep in here. The question is, how are we fitting these plows in? Maybe we can't really trim the SKRELVs, we need them for this. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus another 8 is 20. So we can't trim too many blue sources. I think we can probably trim a couple of ponders. I like the Noble Hierarchs here. Maybe they're a bit less necessary. We're not worrying about wastelands and things. I think this looks a little bit better. So we have our guy. We will need some more mana. We've got 6 cantrips to hit into and a whole bunch of lands. We can get punished for keeping a 1-lander again. It's certainly possible. I do think we keep this though. We have 2 potential Force of Wills if we want them, because we still have our Glistener Elf. I think the first Force of Will definitely uses the Blighted Agent, but we see what the lay of the land is by the time we cast the second one. I iterate again, I am not an Infect player generally, so I'm trying my best. Okay, no play from our opponent on turn 1, that's pretty good for us. Windswept Heath, that's very good for us. Get to attack with our little 1/1. I think we will deploy our Blighted Agent. We're going to do so off of a Savannah or Tundra. Our hand has a lot of blue cards in. I think it probably is a Tundra here. So we got ourselves some recursive infect damage. We have a Force of Will shield and a Swords to Plowshares. If they introduce the initiative, we can kill their creature, and then we can take the initiative back and save our counter magic. So I wouldn't mind seeing something like a White Plume or a Seasoned Engineer. Okay, so we're not going to be able to counter the Seasoned Engineer that's coming anyway. But that's fine. That's what our Swords to Plowshares is for. Oh, it's just a Fabled Mirror Breaker. That's way less scary. Yeah, you can have that. SKRELV. So we can either SKRELV or we can Plow here. I think we want to SKRELV and get this on board. And then we just attack with just the unblockable guy this turn. And then next turn, we can Plow out of the way and put a decent amount of damage on our opponent that way. Wouldn't mind drawing another blue card just so we can keep up a second Force of Will for removal spells and solitudes, whatever. So they pitched a Lotus Pad and a Plateau. An uncounterable Palace Jailer. Okay, this is probably going to hit our Blighted Agent, I imagine. It might hit the SKRELV, seems unlikely though. Yep, so there goes our Blighted Agent, that's fine. We get to steal the Monarch back this turn, because SKRELV gives us unblockability as well. This Cavern can't cast a Swords to Plowshares. Clerics, they have a Cleric in their hand, most likely White Plume Adventurer. They didn't attack with this guy. I guess they don't know that we have the Plow. Which of these do I care about being on the board most? Honestly, the Goblin is scarier than the Palace Jailer just as a creature. Just get rid of this. We'll pay the life because we don't have the white mana here. Giving this protection, white also gives it protection from all their removal spells. Just kind of trading the Monarch off right now. Okay, so we have lethal next turn. We just need to survive, which I don't think is going to be that difficult. We don't need to counterspell too much. A red elemental blast on our Blighted Agent. How important is that creature? We have the Plow and the SKRELV, so we don't need the Blighted Agent. I don't think this is what we fight over. So we can Plow the Reflection, give our creature protection from white, and sail through again. Now if they play a second red creature, we have to Plow the white creature, but again, that still works out for us. Magus of the Moon. We have to Force of Will this one. I think we get rid of the Blighted Agent here. Oh wait, what am I doing? It can't be countered because it's a human. Oh no. Oops. Yeah. This is a real issue for us now. And we don't have any basics in our deck because of how we've built it. Yeah. What a horrible series of events that was. Yikes. So this is a mountain. We can give this creature... So we should have protected our creature there. Oh dear, what am I doing? We can't cast any spells on our deck. How do we get through with this? I don't think we can beat this Magus of the Moon. Yeah, I think this Magus of the Moon is a hard lot. Let's just have a look at our deck list. So we have no basics. We can't cast Invigorate for free because it requires you to have a forest. Yeah, we just lose to this. If we'd have hit the Pyroblast with our counterspell, we could have We could have just continued on with the Blighted Agent. Yeah. Yikes. I wasn't expecting the Mages to the Moon. And we let out a panicked Force of Will there that didn't do anything because it kills us. Yeah. We got pretty crushed in that one. Like, we kept a bad hand in the first game, I think. Our opponent hand there is pretty decent. Our opponent really didn't like attacking, which is interesting to me. I think our opponent could have played that game better, but obviously we definitely could have played that game better. So, alright, sad way to start the league, but let's crack on to round 2. Alright, welcome to round 2. This is what we've been presented with, which is a lot better than what we were working with in the first round, and maybe with the sort of thing we should have been mulliganing towards, perhaps. So we can keep this one, we can play out a SKRELV on turn 1, or we can play out Noble Hierarch, so we can do SKRELV Blighted Agent turn 2. There's pretty good options for us here. We are on the play as well, so we don't have any basics to fetch. We know this. So I think we are probably just going Tropical Island, Noble Hierarch. This could represent a multitude of decks, whereas SKRELV is a little bit more specific, I would imagine, to either some sort of artifact-based strategy or infect. So this is just going to accelerate us out in the following turn. Ooh, a green deck. Exploration. Okay, they're not going to interact too much apart from Wastelands. And just getting us proper deaded is another thing they can do. Expedition map, sure. So, let's get our stuff down this turn. This Daze probably has rather limited use, I would imagine. So we'll go and get a white source. Probably needs to be an island, so that if we get Wastelanded, we can still cast a Daze if we need to. So it probably has to be the Tundra here. And then we're casting this. So blue, white, and we'll use the white off of the Noble Hierarch to cast our SKRELV. And then next turn we get to attack for 2. We can make it 3. So we got them in 2 turns. Ether Spellbomb. Okay. That's not actually that annoying. It slows us down for a turn, but can live with that. And a Misty Rainforest. Just trying to work out what reason our opponent has to play blue here. Whether they're on something a bit weird like Intuition. So that can obviously find you your Life from Alone quite handily. Or they could be looking for... They've got Ether Spell Bombs, so maybe they've got a few other ways of using blue, or it might just be for things like Ottawa and Spell Bomb. Alright, so they are representing the Endurance here. A Berserk. Interesting. We can't really use that in the face of the... So we have a choice here. We can either attack them with 2 guys and guarantee ourselves 1 point of infect in the face of the Spell Bomb, or we can force them to use a Spell Bomb. Considering that we have a lot of ability to kill someone out of nowhere, we're just going to try and get 1 little infect on them. Sure. If this is the Endurance, we have that covered via the Daze. Okay, so that's 2 poison on our opponent there. I don't think we need to do anything here. We can just sit and wait. Our opponent didn't use their Spell Bomb. Petty Theft on the Blighted Agent. That's kind of annoying. That's fine. It's kind of similar to the Spell Bomb. I guess they're saving the Spell Bomb because it's colourless. My opponent hasn't shown us either part of the combo for the Dark Depths yet. Now obviously they can go and get 1/2 whenever they want off the Expedition map they've left uncracked so far. This Daze is looking increasingly bad as time goes on, but maybe we can get something here. An Uro. Sure. So this is what they're playing blue for, which is pretty reasonable. Uro is a good card, especially if you're dredging Life from the Loams and you're putting loads of stuff in your graveyard and finding the Uro. Okay, the Rivulet. This is to mill yourself, not us. Can be used to mess with Doomsday players though. A Ponder. I think we'll start with the Ponder here. Get the most information about how our turn's going to go. I would like this Savannah. I don't really want this Daze. I think we can do slightly better here. Take a shuffle. Okay, that's better, I would say. This gives us another threat. Are we going to be using our SKRELV to get 1 poison on our opponent? Or are we going to just hold it up? I think we probably just hold it up here. Our opponent says 1 sec, so there might be a while waiting for this to resolve. Okay, so I think we pass the turn. This Spell Bomb on board is a little bit annoying. Do we pass the turn or do we go in with the SKRELV? Actually, I'm going to go in with the SKRELV just to get another infect here. The reason for doing this is we have another SKRELV that we can drop post combat if this dies somehow. And we're chipping away because it might be difficult to do one big explosive thing. And if we can get our Berserk to be big enough on one of these two guys, then that'll be useful. So we got up to 3. So scale up plus Noble Hierarch is enough to do like a Blighted Agent type thing. Now this could be a Tabernacle that our opponent's fighting, which is going to be awkward. I would probably describe that as Ghost Quarter. Okay, so they've just got a removal spell for our Inkmoth Nexus. We don't have a basic in our deck because our deck is built badly in my opinion. So that's a problem. Just one basic. This would have been nice to have. There's a Ghost Quarter we know about. A Blast Zone. I can take out our SKRELV and our Noble Hierarch. Going to be tough. Going to be very tough to win this one. Our opponent's just going to hold all their interaction up for when the time comes. Alright, how do we get our way through this one? They have answers to literally every creature we have in play, and they can fire them all off in the same turn. So you've got Spell Bomb to bounce our Agent, Blast Zone to kill our 1-drops, and Ghost Quarter to kill our Inkmoth Nexus. No basics. What a terrible deck design. Sure. Another Inkmoth Nexus isn't the worst. I think we attack with just our Blighted Agent and try and force out this Spell Bomb this turn. Our life total probably doesn't matter too much in this matchup. We're basically trying to incentivize them to pop in there to Spell Bomb. That's what we want to do here. Okay. They didn't bite. Alright. We've got a lot of poison on our opponent, but it's not really doing quite what we need it to. Like, we can't invest into pumping our guy with Spell Bomb on the board. But if they keep doing... so they've milled themselves, they can get an arrow into play this turn, or possibly hit a life from alone. Surprised they didn't just fire off this Blast Zone, to be honest. Now they can bounce our Blighted Agent, which means we can't attack with the next turn. Oh, they're tapping off of... No? Maybe they're thinking of putting counters on the Blast Zone, but I don't think that's necessary. So this is actually where somewhere like the Vines of Vastwood to give your creature hexproof would come in quite nicely, but our mana base isn't the best for casting stuff like that, to be honest. Okay, so found a life from Malone. So this Ghost Quarter is going to be real problematic for us. It's just going to remove all of our lands over the course of a few turns. So we don't have long to win this one. At least our Noble Hierarch still is around to tap for mana, but again, they could bounce that. But I don't think they have that luxury right now with our Blighted Agent threatening. Right, let's float a colourless mana. Yeah, feels like our opponent just has to go through the motions to kill us here, really. Things can still go wrong for them. Mox Diamond, pitching one of these lands they got back, the Rivulet, yep. So that's over to us, and we need to beat this Ether Spell Bomb. Another Blighted Agent, that's actually pretty handy. But if they put the counters on the Blast Zone, that's less handy. This is just Ether Spell Bombing our guy right now. Okay, so let's throw this guy out. So they can put counters on their Blast Zone if they want to. They did not want to. Okay. So our Blighted Agent might be lethal next turn. We might have snuck our way into winning this one. Our opponent's probably got a lot to say about that. They're going to Life from Alone, get back this Maze of Ith, I suppose. So I think we're going to Life from Alone this just so we can buy back our Tropical Island so it can't be wastelanded. Can't be Ghost Quartered, sorry. So this guarantees us green mana. It's real tough out there. So there's the Ghost Quarter. And then goodbye to our land. Yep, so that'll be hitting our green source. And then we have a Maze of Ith. Oakley dokely. How do we beat this? Good question. Brainstorm's probably not a bad way to start off though. Let's try this. And Invigorate. That might become useful. I don't think we need another SKRELV. We can keep this Misty Rainforest. So put these on top. We'll probably draw a Tropical Island next turn. So we drop this land. And we go to attacks, I suppose. They will probably Maze of Ith our Blighted Agent, yep. Then we're going to get one Toxic. I think we missed one Toxic earlier on in this game, which might come back to bite us. We should have kept the Tropical Island in hand, I think. So this is going to be a Life from Alone. Yeah, if we'd have kept Tropical Island, because they can Ghost Quarter our Misty Rainforest to force us to crack it. And then we'll shuffle away our Tropical Island. I should have put that differently in our deck there. Okay. Life from Alone. I think we just let these go. We need to kind of have two Blighted Agents in play. Are they going to Ghost Quarter our Misty Rainforest? I really hope they don't. They shouldn't, really. I don't think that's the play that works well for them. Cracking their Misty Rainforest. So our plan next turn is to cast the Blighted Agent and try and have multiple lethal threats. Okay, so we're going to get our Tropical Island off the top. We're going to leave this in hand. No, I made a mistake here. I shouldn't be doing this now. I should have waited till second main phase for this, because our opponent can make Blast Zone based choices. Sorry about that one. Yeah, so if I attack first, I guess it's probably not going to impact our opponent's play, but it just gives our opponent slightly more information about what they're working with. I'm going to take one from SKRELV here. We have this Force of Will not doing anything right now. Our opponent could play a Brazen Borrower, start chipping away at our life total so they can win the game, or they can put some counters on Blast Zone. Yep, goodbye to our land. We say no, we've got a forest in hand for the purposes of casting Invigorate for free. They're putting a counter on Blast Zone. Yeah, so they're going to do that in a turn anyway, so it doesn't, I don't think playing it out made a difference, but it would have been slightly better to deny our opponent information. Noble Hierarch doing a lot of work here. SKRELV has them dead in 2 turns, but they can start Maze of Ithing our SKRELV now, because they can Blast Zone away the Blighted Agents if they leave up enough mana. This is an Uro from Graveyard. Yeah. Oh, this is a long old game. So there's an Uro. So SKRELV can't attack into the Uro anymore, unless I want to sort of pump it up a load. But that doesn't seem ideal. Mycosynth Gardens. Is this just to copy Mox Diamonds and whatever they get off of their Ezra Sagas? So blowing the Blast Zone, so we lose our Blighted Agents. It's awkward. We're going to need something here. So this sort of situation is where the Rot Priest builds would be quite good, because you can just play your guys, and if you can't attack, you can just pump them with a load of things and still get the final points of poison in. Another Invigorate. So we can kill their Uro, but that doesn't really do anything. We can't SKRELV ourselves into this game very nicely either. We can get 1 toxic damage through by pumping our guy a bunch and then berserking it, but all they'll do is Maze of Ith it. So I think we just have to pass a turn. I think we are done in this game, unless we can find something like a Glistener Elf maybe. But even then our opponent can rebuy the Blast Zone, so we're in a bit of a bind. Okay, they got Stifle in their deck. Okay, this is a bit like a deck that I used to play a long time ago. I used to play blue-green lands in paper like a decade or so ago, before Dark Depths was a thing. So our opponent might not even have the Dark Depths here. There's a Saga. Blast Zone. They're just going to pop the Blast Zone and kill our 1-drops. That'll do me. They've blown up all of our permanents. We could try and grind their clock a bit, but I'd rather not be that guy. So I would like this recursive threat that can sit on the board. I would also like this thing that can do its own thing. I think the Surge of Extractions are good here, and the Dazes are terrible. We could have the Plows. The Plows are definitely an option that we can try for the purposes of Marit Lage. But I think if we get into that sort of situation, is that going to be... I don't know if we can actually... I guess we could try and remove our Force of Wills, but then they could have things like Chalice that we definitely need to hit. I think we go like this. I don't want the Plows. They can Marit Lage us. We didn't see any half of their Marit Lage combo, so it might just be like a much more grindier control build. And trying to find 4 more slots for Swords to Plowshares would just be overboarding, then our deck won't do the thing it needs to do. So I think we just want to go like this. There is an argument for Daze on the play, but I don't think that's very good. Our opponent's deck produces so much mana. Okay, our opener doesn't have any of our Infect guys apart from the Inkmoth Nexus, which is the worst one against our opponent, so we have to mulligan this one. Our opponent's also a Yori on deck, which is interesting. Alright, we can keep this one. Something has to go back. Is it the Ponder, or the Blighted Agent, or the Force of Will? I think we want to keep the scale up, we want to keep our lands. Maybe it's the Blighted Agent here, because Ponder can find us more action if we need it. Maybe it's the Ponder. Like, either one of these could end up getting pitched to Force of Will. Right, let's get rid of the Ponder and just keep the guaranteed things. What will we be pondering for? Probably more Infect creatures, right? So this one I'm going to get us a Tropical Island. Not having basics in this deck definitely feels like an error on my part there. I did rip the mana base off of a deck I found online that was playing Bant, so I can blame them a little bit, but at the end of the day, I'm the one who built this deck, so... Dismember. Sure, we'll allow that, and we'll just play out the Blighted Agent next turn. Are we getting Tundra here for the purposes later on? Probably. We don't want to be out of white sources if something goes wrong though. Alright, so we don't have a Force of Will to protect this one, unfortunately. We could try and Surgical the Dismember, but it seems unlikely they're going to have more than one. They probably have 2 in their 95, and they're Yori on deck. That doesn't mean they can't have other things that mess with us. Okay, so they are a Dark Depths deck, sure. A Maze of Ith. A little bit awkward for us. So previous builds of Infect used to have crop rotation packages. We do not have that luxury, I'm afraid. So we are in the make them tap their Maze of Ith. And I hope that does something. Sure. So our opponent's only playing 1 land a turn at least. We don't have Force of Will, but we have his available because of the lack of a blue card. But we do have 2 Surgical Extractions in case they try and Life from Loam their Dark Depths. Ugh, Tabernacle. That's not our friend, is it? Let's prevent that. And draw a card. A Ponder. Okay. What are we looking for? We need another creature. Wow, our opponent's got Flusterstorm as well. Yikes. This is going to be a lot of hassle to win this one. If it's at all possible. So, not liking our chances. A Caracas. That's fine. Life from Loam targeting Dark Depths. We're going to get rid of this Dark Depths. Our opponent might not be able to win in the time they have remaining if I take out their Dark Depths. Unbelievable, they got another Flusterstorm. Sure. So we have a choice now if we hit the Dark Depths here or we hit the Life from Loam once it's in the graveyard. Tricky. I think we just get rid of the Dark Depths. This represents them being able to win the game. Okay, they have an Uro in hand. It's just the 1 Dark Depths in their whole deck, is it? Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Yeah, kind of wish I'd have just hit the Life from Loam now, but such is life sometimes. Okay, this is about as good a draw as I could have hoped for right now. We could end up in a weird situation where we are Noble Hierarching for damage. So our opponent's probably just going to be dredging Life from the Loams from now on. Kind of wish I'd have Surgically Extracted that one instead. Okay, the Thespian stage. So we had a 2020 in our future. We've at least slowed our opponent down from being able to win this game. We do have an Uro in hand, which we'll eventually have to do something about. Okay, so we'll keep our creatures alive. Another Blighted Agent. Well, that's a Force of Will at least. Sure. Maze of Ith. We're going to go back and forth doing this little song and dance for a while until our opponent finds ways of disrupting all of our mana base. At present, they can't cast Uro in the near future. We can Force of Will it on the backside. And they escape it. Buy us a couple of turns. We're just looking for more mana sources now. Like the Noble Hierarch is an interesting one because it's a mana source that is also a creature, so it kind of gets tapped down by Tabernacle, but has other stuff going on with it. It can't be wastelanded, which is nice. There's Uro we knew about. So they need 1 more blue or green source to cast this Uro next turn. Okay, so there's their source. So next turn they can cast the Uro. We can Force of Will that. Now they might just have more of these Flusterstorms kicking around. Life from the Loam. Yep. There's a Wasteland. The pinch gets tighter on what we're doing here. I suspect they're just going to Wasteland us out the game rather than deploying the Uro. A SKRELV. That doesn't really do anything for us either. Yikes. It's getting kind of ruined here. Our opponent's deck looks pretty cool though. So we're just going to get Wasteland out of the game. I think we're done here. So we're 0-2 now. Not a great way to begin this league off, but maybe we can turn it around. Let's see if we can do that. Alright, this is our opening hand for the next one. Mana looks unusable, so let's mulligan. Glistener Elf, SKRELV, counter spells. I think we can keep this. We'll probably bottom one of our Inkmoth Nexuses. Nexuses. I'm not sure what the plural is for Nexuses. Probably Nexuses, I guess. Right. Our opponent is probably on the old... what's it called? Initiative. So let's make ourselves a tropical island here. The tropical island will stop us from casting SKRELV, but we need green here. And we need... If we want to cast the Daze, we could get Savannah here. And just use the Force of Will. Yeah, I don't mind that. So next turn we can deploy SKRELV and the Inkmoth Nexus. And then we get a little bash for 1. And the next turn, we can bash for 7. Oh, okay. Brainstorm. Off of a Lotus Petal. That was unexpected. Oh. Our opponent has conceded from the game. Huh. Okay. I have no idea what happened there. Maybe our opponent had to go or whatever. We have a win on the board, but it doesn't really feel like a win because we didn't do anything. Lotus Petal Brainstorm. So maybe they're on the like Jeskai Ascendancy adjacent decks. Maybe? I'm not sure. Alright, well, I guess we take it and we carry on to the next one. We're on the play for round 4. Our hand, our SKRELV doesn't look very exciting to me. I think we need a better hand than this. This is what I would describe as a better hand. It's one of those Infect hands that actually does the thing that you want to do with your deck. I think we'll chuck away one of our Misty Rainforests. So we have turn 1 Glistener Elf, turn 2 scale up Invigorate, kill them. This is what I'm talking about. This is what Infect decks are supposed to do. We haven't really been able to do very much of that today. Someone dropping a turn 1 Glistener Elf is one of the scarier things that can happen to you. If you've got no removal or blockers in hand, it's pretty terrifying. Polluted Delta. Alright, is our opponent going to be some sort of combo deck? Or are they going to be sort of on the Delver slant, just using Polluted Deltas as their blue fetches? Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay. Interesting. Let's see what they do here. They are blocking with their Channeler. So we can use Invigorate just as a way of killing their Channeler and leaving our Glistener Elf in play. I don't hate that as a play. So basically we just use that as a snuff out pretty much. Except our opponent gains life instead of us losing it. Okay, we're just going to get another Trop here. And try this one out. Our opponent can Daze this. They did not Daze it. Okay, that's good for us. I think if our opponent had removal, they would have fired it off turn 1 instead of playing the Dragon's Rage Channeler. A Brainstorm, sure. Mishra's Bauble. We've got potentially 7 Infect that we can fire across next turn if our opponent doesn't. Okay, our opponent hasn't played a second land drop. Okay. I think we just fire this up now. We're never going to be overloading this. We'll put it on the weaker of the 2 creatures. We'll attack for 7. Our opponent did not have a... we're not going to show them the white mana. They did not have a Daze last turn. That doesn't mean they don't have one now. But if they want a Daze, then they're definitely not having 2 mana here. So we have 3 guys. So we have lethal threats in play right now if they don't have removal or a blocker. A Brainstorm. Now our opponent is Brainstorm blocked from the previous one, so they only get to see a little bit deeper into their deck. They don't get to see the full 3 cards. Oh no, they have the Mishra's Bauble to power through it. Alright, so they're just conceding. Alright, so what is our Delver opponent going to do to try and beat us? They're going to wasteland our things, and they're going to kill our creatures. So we could board in some Flusterstorms to protect against removal. That seems relatively alright. I'm not very familiar with Infect as a deck. So I'm not really sure if we want these Uros or not. Feels like they're more of like a grindier thing. But maybe if we trade a load of resources with our Delver opponent, then just stick an Uro. But Uro's not amazing against Delver because Murktide outclasses it most of the time. And just left with this Uro that can't attack. Do we want this Ajani? I don't think Ajani is going to be very good here. SKRELV's Hive might be good here. Just keep pumping out little creatures. I think we have to be the aggressor here. I don't think we want Dazes on the draw. Do we want Swords to Plowshares to kill off 1 or 2 of their little creatures? I think we can probably board in a couple of plows. I don't think we want more. We don't want too many plows here. I think this is fine. I'm not very confident on my sideboarding with this deck, as you probably guessed. We have Ponder, Noble Hierarch. Noble Hierarch is definitely one of the cards I would like to have. But I think we need to find one of our Infect guys to at least start the game off right. This is a keeper. We have a Brainstorm to fix our hand. Probably get rid of the scale up for now. So we're leading off with Noble Hierarch. If we can resolve the Noble Hierarch, we get to play around Daze for the rest of the game. If we don't, then that's... Oh, they can obviously Lightning Bolt it and stop that from happening, but let's see what transpires here. I think we still play the Noble Hierarch over the Glistener Elf here. We're very much getting a Tropical Island. Okay, so we can play around Daze relatively well going forwards. And we have a Brainstorm to fix our hand if we need to. Our hand is fine right now. We don't really need to fix our hand, so I don't think we need to pop this Brainstorm off just yet. I think we'd be better off deploying threats. Dragon's Rage Channeler. And a Lightning Bolt, maybe? There's the Lightning Bolt. Sure. Goodbye, Noble Hierarch. Playing around Daze. A little bit more tricky right now. Opponent's only got 4 cards in hand. And they left a card on top of their library, which means it's probably like a Lightning Bolt or something. Alright, let's play this Glistener Elf out. I'm just going to get a Tropical Island again. This could be Dazed. Yeah, that's just what's happening. That's the reason we played it in that order. We wanted to get our Infect guy down first. So now, next turn, we're probably going to be looking at maybe doing a Brainstorm, but we'll see how things transpire. We can Invigorate to save our creature if we need to, but we have a Blighted Agent to drop anyway, so I probably wouldn't save this one. Oof. Wasteland is awkward for us. We need to find a land this turn. We can Brainstorm to try and find one though. That means we're not deploying our Blighted Agent if we don't naturally draw one. We did draw one, so I think we are going to deploy our Blighted Agent here. We're just going to get another Trop rather than show them the white source just yet. If we attack with the Glistener Elf, are they going to trade their Dragon's Rage Channeler? Is that a trade I want? They've got instant sorcery land. So if they cast a spell and Surveil, they can just kill our Infect guy without any issue. I'm going to go for this Blighted Agent now. We don't get to play around Daze anymore because we got Wasteland and our Noble Hierarch got killed. Alright, they don't have a Daze in hand. I think you fire that off then. Unless you've got some sort of sweeper effect you're building towards. This looks like an expressive iteration where they're only going to get 1 card out of it unless they find the bauble. That's pretty good for us. That's a desperation move. I'll take that. Brainstorm they can't cast. Excellent. Right, I think we'll lead off on a Brainstorm. See if we can deploy like a Noble Hierarch or something like that. A SKRELV and a Swords to Plowshares. These don't feel great right now. Just have a look. We're going to go any order and we're going to shuffle because we don't want to use white cards. We drew a white card. Of course we did. Slightly punished for not getting a white source earlier. But we kind of need islands and we need forests. Because we have Invigorate, which requires a forest, and Daze, which requires an island. And if our opponent has a wasteland and they can take us off of Tropical Island and leave us with like a Tundra or something, that's real bad for us. Alright, so another expressive iteration. This one's probably going to be better than last because they'll be able to cast the spell or whatever the card they put into exile off of it is. A Lightning Bolt. Not ideal. They're going to Lightning Bolt our Blighted Agent here. Oh, they're going to Lightning Bolt our Glistener Elf. This is because they have a Pyroblast. I think we save... No, I think we have to let this go now and then try and maybe kill them next turn. Yeah, so the Dragon's Rage Channeler is always attacking here. So it does feel like our opponent's got a Pyroblast. Otherwise you would snap it off on the... Unless they just really wanted to get the attack in for some reason. So we could try and Brainstorm here to find something. This doesn't let us play around Daze, but they haven't had Daze for a few turns, so let's try and Brainstorm first. We're looking for Flusterstorm, and a land is pretty good. Let's put these 2 back. So I think we have the lethal here. So crack this now. We don't want to show our opponent white mana, although this is the last game if we win this one, so I think we can... So we beat Force of Will here. Let's get a Tundra. So let's scale up our little guy. We can't beat Daze and Force of Will here. A Daze. So we can either... We can pay for this Daze, or we can Flusterstorm. I guess we pay for it. It's much better than Flusterstorming it. We have another Daze. Okay. The double Daze. So now if they have the Pyroblast, I don't think we pump here because if we draw a Berserk, that can just be lethal. So we keep this Invigorate in hand. It also represents more things. You don't want to fire them off like this. I don't think you need to leverage the other cards that are possibly on your deck. Brainstorm first. I'm expecting the Pyroblast here. We did get a 2-for-1 with our scale up at least. It's Wasteland. We're going to lose our white source here. Yep, that's fine. It wasn't a Pyroblast, so that's good. This guy comes in for 3. We have an Inkmoth Nexus. It's a pretty good one. So we just nip them up to 3. So we're 1 poison short of killing our opponent next turn with a Flusterstorm backup. Scalding Tarn. Not another Wasteland, so that's good for us. They got the Pyroblast. They can hit our Blighted Agent now. Blue. So this is the Merkside region. I see. A little bit rude. but it means they don't have Pyroblast up. So it means our Flusterstorm should be able to do the job. How many Dazes have we seen? 2 Dazes so far. So this is going to be a big old Murktide. So we are dead on our next turn. Well, we can chump block with the Inkmoth Nexus perhaps. A Savannah. Does that change what we're doing? I don't think so. Do we play it out or do you keep it in hand for a Brainstorm? We'll think about that in a second. This is unblockable, so we're just going to get our 1 poison in. Put our opponent up to 4. If we play out our Savannah, it does make our Brainstorm worse next turn if we draw 1. We don't need that mana right now. We can play around... we need to play around a Daze, maybe? No, I think we hold it for Brainstorm. If they've got another Daze, and that's enough, then sure. It needs to be 2 Dazes, right, actually? Because we animate this, and we have the 1 to pay. We've got a removal spell for this? They do not. Okay, so we get to live to fight another day here. We just need 1 pump spell. We need to get 1 more infect on our opponent into 3 open mana on a Delver player. Interesting. Let's just try and source the Plowshares this creature first. So if our opponent doesn't have a Lightning Bolt, then we are okay. Please don't Lightning Bolt us, opponent. Or cast some other spells first so our Flusterstorm can counter the Lightning Bolt. Dragon's Rage Channeler, that's not a Lightning Bolt. It adds to our Storm Count for Flusterstorm. Alrighty. So we have Invigorate with Flusterstorm backup here. If they had Lightning Bolt, I think they fire it off last turn just to kill us. Force of Will. So this is spell 1, this is spell 2, this will be spell... This is not going to be enough, is it? This is unfortunate for us. Yes, if we Flusterstorm this, we only get 3 copies, they have 3 mana to pay. And then they kill us on the backswing. What? They had 3 mana, they just paid the Flusterstorm. Okay, well that's why I didn't concede right away, because our opponent can make a mistake, but that's a bit of an awkward one. There's 3 copies, they have 3 mana up. Yeah? Okay. We're getting lucky today, in some respects. Okay, so what does our hand do? It kills our opponent on turn 3, with Force of Will backup. That's probably good enough. We're a bit cold to Wasteland. Elvish Reclaimer, okay, so our opponent... is this one that we need to counterspell? I think it is. Because they can just go get so many... We've seen how badly the lands tools are can ruin us. So I think we just needed to snap off. We can go and get Wastelands and all sorts. Right, so you get Ponder now to try and find a little bit more action here. Wowzers, trousers. I don't even know if we need any of these. I think we just go any order and shuffle. Yeah, okay. So this gives us a land against Wasteland, which is better because this on any infect guy is lethal. So we already have the lethal damage. We don't need to have 3 more pump spells. Now if we had a Rot Priest, that would be pretty cool. We could do stuff with that. So there's a Wasteland, so that's why we got the Misty Rainforest. If our opponent casts a Life from Alone, we almost certainly lose this game. Okay. Bad times. So this is the land that we can play that they can't Wasteland. So next turn we can cast Blighted Agent. And then if we draw a forest, we can maybe kill our opponent. Now they might still Wasteland our Inkmoth Nexus. So we have a way of not losing this game. They just get to Wasteland both of them, unfortunately, here. Blue and 1. In comes the guy. So they're going to Wasteland our Tropical Island. Oh, they have a Punishing Fire. Sure, we'll prevent it with Invigorate. Invigorate does turn on Punishing Fires by gaining them life, but the order that it happens means that it's fine there. But it means if we have to do that again, then they can buy back their out of the Punishing Fire. I haven't seen a lot of Punishing Fire in the meta lately. It doesn't feel very strong in the face of all these initiative decks. But it's going to be pretty good against the Infect. Okay, crop rotation for Wasteland or something. A Tabernacle. Okay. And then they Wasteland our land there. Sure. A little bit mean. Life from Alone, getting back the Wasteland. Playing the Wasteland. Yeah, we're done here. This matchup feels pretty abysmal, to be honest. Especially since we don't have any basics in our deck. So we want Surgical Extractions. We want the SKRELV as just a repeatable threat that we can deploy. Other than that, we're not really casting much of my spells. Dazes are going to be pretty bad, I think. Although we saw the Elvish Reclaimer. This is a bit different. We're just boarding out Dazes in favour of forces. I like Daze to be able to bounce my lands though. And we're on the play. And we're just going to do something a bit weird. Board out a SKRELV and these things like this. Alright, let's try this. We kind of just want to get the SKRELV's Hive going. Unfortunately, Tabernacle was pretty good against us. We don't really have a proper effect creature. I think we should mulligan this one. Yikes, this is bad. Okay, this one we can keep. Got to get rid of 2 cards here. Do we want the Surgical Extraction for Life from the Loam so we don't get Wasteland locked? I think we probably need that more than a Brainstorm. So, do we need an Invigorate more than a Brainstorm? I think I'd rather have a Brainstorm than an Invigorate. So we're going to get Tropical Island. Cast our Noble Hierarch. Just can cast Blighted Agent next turn. Or Brainstorm or whatever. We'll see what we need to cast next turn. And then go from there. Not a Wasteland on turn 1, but this could be the exploration into Wasteland. Elvish Reclaimer, sure. A Savannah. So I think we start off with a Brainstorm here. Actually, do we need to... I don't think we actually need to Brainstorm at all. I think we just play out our land and our Blighted Agent. We can Brainstorm an emergency if we need to, but I don't really know what we're looking for. We don't have a lot of cards to put things back with. I'd rather take another draw and have a Brainstorm that does more. Yavimaya. A Sylvan Library. Sure, these are fine cards. Our opponent looks like they're more on the Naya depths than a standard sort of landsy build. Okay, so now we can cast this Brainstorm. Scale Up is quite a nice one. I don't think this Daze is going to do us any good. Put these 2 on top. And we'll play this one out. And I think we will get our Scale Up while we can in this particular matchup. Go to attacks. This will attack for 7 poison. So we only need to find 1 more poison next turn. We will be cracking our Windswept Heath, but we want to do it in our upkeep ideally. Because we don't know what lands are going to get wastelanded. A Mox Diamond, sure. A Tabernacle. Okay, understood. And they're holding up Elvish Reclaimer to go and get a spooky land. So we'll crack this now. Gonna get a Tropical Island, I think. And we'll pay for some of our guys. Pay to prevent this. Pay to prevent this. A SKRELV. Interesting. Let's get 1 damage in. 2 poison damage in here. They're getting rid of their Tabernacle. That doesn't fill me with a great amount of joy. A Glacial Chasm. Okay. There's no Tabernacle now. And we want to get this SKRELV up and running. Because it can protect our Blighted Agent from punishing fires. So they've got a few turns of this Glacial Chasm doing stuff for them. And they might be able to string a win together by then. We have our Surgical Extraction to mess with something potentially. Also, the Elvish Reclaimer every turn shuffles away the card they don't want on top of their Sylvan Library as well, which is quite a nice combo. Gamble. Okay, it's going to be a gamble for Life from the Loam, perhaps. An Exploration. Sure. We have 1 point of interaction, and it's in the graveyard, so we're just waiting for a Life from the Loam or something. A Thespian Stage. So this Thespian Stage can copy the Glacial Chasm and buy them more turns of prisoning us out. Life from the Loam targeting Tabernacle, Field of the Dead, and a Tiger. So we can either get rid of the Tabernacle, or we can get rid of the Life from the Loam. I think we have to get rid of the Tabernacle. The Life from the Loam, sorry. We can do that in our turn if we need to. Another Blighted Agent, not really what we want. Let's get rid of this Life from the Loam now. Loam, Loam, Loam. Have a quick look at their deck. Okay, there are just sort of more like Naya Landsy. Ensnaring Bridge, not the scariest in the world. Some Red Blast, couple of Punishing Fires. Win condition wise, what we're looking at here. 1 Dark Depths. Field of the Dead. Okay. There's no point attacking because I have Glacial Chasm. Just gotta hope this Glacial Chasm doesn't stick around for too long. I suspect it's not going to matter too much and we're just going to get bodied here because this feels like a horrible matchup. Especially with the way we have our deck built with the 3 colours. If we were just blue-green, we could afford some like wasteland interaction of our own, which would be quite useful. Sure. There goes our trop. And there goes another land. Let the SKRELV die. Protect this. And protect this. Not really getting us anywhere. We have a Force of Will, so we can Force of Will, something. We don't know if we're going to see more Wastelands in our future. So there is that. This game isn't over. It just feels very close to being over. But we still kind of have to go through the motions because our opponent might not be able to... Because they don't have the Life from Malone now, they can't necessarily Wasteland lock us. And their Glacial Chasm has to go this turn. They have to use their Thespin stage to copy it in their upkeep. Yeah, here's the trick. So that basically takes their whole turn to buy them 2 turns, which is probably going to be enough to win them the game. Because they got a Sylvan Library drawing them into all sorts of goodies. A Thespin stage, okay, so they can rebuy the Glacial Chasm trick. A Daze that we can't cast because we don't have any islands. Cool. No point attacking because of the Glacial Chasm. So this is probably searching for the Dark Depths. No, just a Wasteland. Bit rude. So I'm going to go to 3 here. So we're going to lose our land, which means our Noble Hierarch has to save our Blighted Agent, I believe. A Maze of Ith. Yikes. Yeah, this is lights out, I believe. Okay, so we have a land, so our guy isn't dead yet. How do we get around this Maze of Ith, though? Our deck is very cold to Maze of Ith. So this turn they get the Merit Lage token. They go get Dark Depths, and then they go and make a 20/20, and we die. Yeah. You make it a turn with this Thespin stage. They've got Yavimaya, so this taps, these tap for mana. Yep, that'll do us. So we finished with a 2-3. Let's talk about the deck. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we finished with a 2-3, and one of the wins we got was because our opponent conceded the entire match on the first turn of game 1. Not really sure about that one. And we beat Delver because they didn't understand that they could have paid for our Flusterstorms. So, not a great showing. Unsurprisingly, with the record we got, I don't think this deck is very good. I think SKRELV isn't very good in this deck, to be honest. I was expecting it to do a lot more than it did. It just felt like we weren't really getting anywhere. I think if that was Rot Priest, we end up in a better place most of the time. If we go sort of down that route, I think the other route for Infect is just better. So our mana base wasn't great here because we didn't have any basics to fetch. But we're playing a 3-color deck that wants to be able to have forests in play for Invigorate and islands in play for Daze. So we kind of are a little bit stuck with what lands we do play. Maybe I should have looked harder at the mana base rather than just stripping out of somebody who'd already posted a Bant list. But yeah, this feels bad as a deck. There's just some fundamental problems with it in terms of the mana base and things. Now, we did get paired against Wasteland decks like all day long. We had 2 Landsy style decks, and we had Delver as well. So there's a lot of Wastelands all up in our business. I think we should have mulliganed better against the initiative. Maybe that was on us for losing that one rather than the deck. And I'll certainly take that criticism. But I don't think this is the build you want to be running if you're running the Infect. I think the Rot Priest build looks way more attractive to me. And I'm definitely going to give a Rot Priest build a go probably next week sometime. I think that's going to be a better prospect. Because as you saw, there's a lot of cards that can jam us up in terms of things like Maze of Ith became very problematic because we didn't have any way of giving our guy protection. Now, if you're playing a Rot Priest build, you're probably going to have more Vines of Vastwood type effects anyway. So you've got that you can rely on. And also the fact that Rot Priest means you can give them poison counters without using the combat step, which is also going to beat things like Glacial Chasm as well. So I think the takeaway from this is SKRELV is not really where I want to be, certainly not with this mana base. Like, I did like the ability to give like a Noble Hierarch some Toxic or whatever, or being able to have the unblockable with our little 1/1 Glistener Elf. That felt pretty good, but I'm not sure that's where this deck wants to be. Sideboard wise, I had lots of options here, and you know, they all seemed fine. We never ever got to play a SKRELV's Hive or even see it, so I can't really comment on that. I'm not really convinced I know how best to sideboard with the Euro. So that's probably on me a little bit there. I guess we didn't find any of these sort of grindier, slower matchups too much. Like, the grindier matchups we did see were the ones that attack your mana base, so casting Euro isn't realistic. But if it was sort of like a slow, blue, grindy matchup, then maybe Euro can just kind of keep getting rebought and doing stuff. But yeah, I don't like this build of the deck, and I'm not an Infect player, so take that with a pinch of salt. Maybe a better Infect player will be like, oh, you only need to change a tiny little bit here, and you need to be better at keeping certain hands. And if you have any ideas about this, then I'd like to hear them. I'd like to see what you think the best Rot Priest build is. Is it still blue-green, or should you be going green-white? You will lose some of your counterspell protection, but you can get more pump spells and just kind of combo people a little bit. Maybe that is a better way of doing things. I don't know. But we'll find out, because I'm going to try that next week. So if you've got any ideas, I'd like to hear them in the comments. Also, if you're still here, like my video, it bumps in the algorithm, and subscribe to my channel. If I can hit the 1,000 subscribers mark, then I can actually get a bit of money back for doing these leagues, and that would be really helpful for me. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry it was a bit of an uneventful one today. I don't think it was the most exciting one, but we experimented with some stuff, and not every experiment is going to work, and that's how we do the experiments. And yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye.